Hey guys, what's going on? Steve, I'm back again, and I'm back with another 40k video from Major Kill. And the topic for today's video is Top 5 Most Epic Last Stands. Another really cool topic from Major Kill. He does a lot of really cool topics, not gonna lie. But this one sounds really cool. Alright, so I'm not going to waste any more time and jump right into the video because it is extremely hot out today. It's in the, I don't know, high 90s. So yeah, I'm all sweaty and stuff, and I want to get my air conditioner back on as soon as possible. So let's just jump right into the video. Here we go.
G'day guys and gal. Everyone loves a good last stand. Tom Cruise's Last Samurai,
Ooh.
The 300 Spartans, Saving Private Ryan. Nothing
Good
gets my
movies.
juices flowing than some badass dudes giving their final effort in life
Last Samurai
to
was
create
really
some awesome
good.
cinematic content. So it's pretty sweet that Warhammer 40k is absolutely chockers with last stands, and extremely awesome ones at that. What really sets Warhammer's last stands above the rest is that it involves super soldiers, parasitic space bugs of death, angry sentient mushroom men, and a plethora of other spicy combatants. I didn't see anyone
Can't
get
go wrong
cut
with
in half
that.
by a chain axe in Saving Private Ryan. Before we get started, I'm going to keep this short and simple because that's all it needs. Visible abs, a thin face, stable hormones, and just being happy is mostly dependent on what you eat. But unless you're a chef with a bunch of spare time, you are either ordering crazy food,
did a
spending bulk
last
cash at
stand,
restaurants, or cooking pretty
if I
weird
remember
meals.
correctly.
But it doesn't have to be like that. Factor saves you
Because I was
time and
actually
money while being
looking
delicious
at that
and healthy
chapter,
by providing you with a large range
the
of
lore
high
and stuff,
protein,
and I think they were doing a
last
last stand against
be true,
the
but
orcs.
It's not. Factor meals are never frozen, so
I think
you
there
don't
was
get that
only
like
like
dry, dull,
250 or
soggy taste that is common with these
500
kind of
Crimson
meals.
Fists
The best
left,
part
I
is that
think.
every week you get new meals.
This was
so
years
you'll never
ago,
get sick of
so
having the same thing over and over. Plus, with macros like this, you can have a bodybuilder's dream diet without all the meal prep or weighed food nonsense that no sane person can actually be stuffed doing. There is no way Factor doesn't change your life for the better. So to start changing your waistline and the Warhammer stereotype, then use my link below or code POGMAJORJUN50. That's POG Major JUN 50 for 50% off your first box. With such a great discount,
Last
there's
name
no reason not to at
Eisenhorn.
least give it a go. I guarantee you won't regret it. Cheers to Factor for sponsoring this video. Today I'll go over the top 5 last stands in Warhammer 40k. Yep, that's all there really is to it. Now let's get into it.
It's all it needs to be.
It was actually really fucking hard to narrow this list down to 5, but I did it. However, I won't be putting them in a particular order as last stands are very subjective things.
Right.
First off is the epic last stands / sacrifice of the entire Astral Knight Space Marine chapter in order to destroy a Necron world engine. Necrons have some pretty
Knight?
bullshit hack weapons. Nothing encapsulates this more than the fact that they had a literal Death Star. The Imperium sent fleet after fleet, over a dozen Space Marine chapters to engage the engine to no avail.
I like their
Its
paint
shields
scheme.
were too strong and its weapons were carving up the Imperials like sashimi. So the Astral Knights decided that their massive balls could be of good use. They rammed their battle barge into the world engine with the entire chapter on board.
Whoa.
Battle barges are sturdy beasts, so it was able to break through the shield and more or less act as one gigantic drop pod. Over 700 Astartes survived the
pretty
ramming
smart.
and charged forth. Their sole goal was to destroy each
Ballsy,
and every Necron node,
but
forge,
smart.
and bit of technology that they could find. They fought for hours, being cut down one by one until eventually only a handful, including the Chapter Master, remained. In his final act, the Chapter Master detonated a melter bomb charge on a central part of the world engine, disabling its shields and primary weapons. What?
Ooh,
This isn't
that
fucking
was smart.
Star Wars. You can't just blow up one thing and the entire Death Star explodes. Necrons aren't dog shit engineers. However, losing their shields was enough to allow the rest of the Imperial fleet to bomb the ever-living tits out of the world engine, destroying it. Every single
okay.
Astral Knight that assaulted the engine died, but they saved the Imperium from an extremely large ball ache.
Wow.
The death of an entire chapter is extremely rare in 40k, as A, it's a permanent change to the setting, even if a small one, and B, it fucks over people who paint their chapters in that scheme. So GW is usually such a huge pussy about it, often allowing 100 or so Space Marines to survive.
Right, that
to
would
rebuild the
suck.
chapter.
Just imagine,
However,
you know.
this time only about 30 Astral Knights remain.
I
the
painted
ones
my
who would
chapter
stay
Astral
behind in
Knights,
their
but
home world. However, instead of
gone.
letting them rebuild, a new chapter arrived at their fortress monastery and kicked them out, telling them to go sacrifice their lives in the Emperor's name. A bit of
Wow.
a dog move, but the Astral Knights do go out and do die for
What
the
chapter
Emperor,
was that? That's
making
pretty
them
shitty.
officially extinct. Overall, it's the sheer sacrifice of an entire chapter, the odds they were up against, and the acts of heroism that puts the Astral Knight's last stand on this list. The devastation of Baal was basically one big-ass last stand. Every single Blood Angel and all their successors, minus the Lamenters, versus the largest Tyranid fleet in existence and Khorne's greatest champion, Kabunda. But I don't want to look at the entire conflict today. Instead, I want to look at the last stand of the Knights of Blood that took place during the war. The Knights of Blood were a very controversial chapter. They were officially deemed renegade traitors by the Imperium due to them going even more berserk in battle than the Flesh Tearers and killing just as many allies as enemies. They still consider themselves loyal to the Emperor, hence did not join Chaos, but they are overall still enemies of most of mankind. Despite this, they still answered the summons of the Blood Angels to defend their homeworld. They were so insane in combat that the only chapter that was happy to fight alongside them during the war on Baal were the Flesh Tearers. Together, they held the line on one of Baal's moons against the Nids. However, when Kabunda arrived, it was clear that the defenders were going to be overwhelmed and needed to withdraw. However, a full rout would mean all of their deaths. So, the Knights of Blood, led by their chapter master Centaur Jewel, decided to give up his entire chapter's lives to allow the Flesh Tearers and other chapters to escape. They charged the enemy, with Centaur even charging Kabunda and confronting him. Kabunda mocks the chapter master, calling him a weakling and attempting to corrupt him to Khorne. Centaur resists and laughs in Kabunda's face, telling him that Kabunda is the weak one, allowing himself to get baited into a pointless duel with a Space Marine, thus allowing thousands of other Blood Angels to escape. Kabunda rages, Centaur charges, and embraces an honourable death. Redemption is a big theme within the Blood Angels, so the Knights of Blood embracing a horrific death against demons and Tyranids to save their brothers is a pretty solid way to bury the sins of their past, especially since they were the most Khorne and Berserk-like chapter in all of the Blood Angel successes. Overall, a last stand in every essence of the phrase.
Bravery to that chapter.
Nay, a bit of a hard dick for the Custodies, so I always try and mention them when I can. Fortunately, they have a really badass and emotionally charged last stand, even if it did end quite badly for them and was unremembered by all. When Lorgar was being a bit of a shithead simp, the Emperor sent a squad of Custodies to watch over him and ensure he wasn't doing anything naughty. Spoiler, he was. However, the Custodian Aquilon and Argyll Tull created a pretty unexpected but powerful friendship, becoming brothers in arms and very close. Argyll was the only wordbearer that the Custodies liked and trusted, so it was a brutal betrayal when the Custodies discovered that the wordbearers were traitorous heretics and had played them for a fool. While the wordbearers were on Isfahan massacring the Loyalists, Aquilon and his small squad rampaged through Argyll Tull's ship, massacring servants, soldiers, and even assassinating the Blessed Lady, someone Argyll cared for deeply. The Custodies then crash-landed on the surface of Isfahan, with Argyll Tull and his Gal Vorbak close behind. They catch up to them, 3 Custodians versus 11 Gal Vorbak. Not the greatest odds for the Golden Boys. It was a pretty intense exchange, with the last time Argyll and Aquilon sink.
Wait. 3 Custodians versus 11 what?
Ship, massacring servants, soldiers, and even assassinating the Blessed Lady, someone Argyll cared for deeply. The Custodies then crash-landed on the surface of Isfahan, with Argyll Tull and his Gal Vorbak close behind. They catch up.
Is what far behind?
Crash-landed on the surface of Isfahan, with Argyll Tull and his Gal Vorbak close behind. They catch up to them, 3 Custodians versus 11 Gal Vorbak. Not the greatest odds for the Golden Boys. It was a pretty intense exchange, with the last time Argyll and Aquilon seeing each other they had been close brothers. Now Argyll was a drooling demon and Aquilon wasn't having a bar of it. Despite the number disadvantage, the Custodians having already killed hundreds of troops, a super battle robot, and crash-landed on Isfahan, they still made a good account of themselves. They killed 4 of the Gal Vorbak before the first Custodian went down. Then another Gal Vorbak went down
like some sort
Argyll
of
killed Aquilon
demon
himself.
thingy.
This left 6 Gal Vorbak versus 1 Custodian. This last Custodian had taken a vow of silence for decades. He removes his helm and throws his spear, impaling and killing another of the Gal Vorbak. He begins to laugh, breaking his vow as he says, "I always hated you, Zaphen," referencing the Marine he killed with his final act, a Marine that also happened to be Argyll Tull's best friend. It was a very emotionally charged scene. Argyll had been the main character for the entire book, and this scene perfectly showed off that he really just was an evil piece of shit like the rest of them. He tried to tell Aquilon about chaos and the truth of the universe, but Aquilon just said, "Shut the fuck up, you retard. You have no valid arguments. You are a drooling half-demon traitor. Everything you say is worth less than the splashback of cum on a horse miniskirt." That isn't exactly word for word for how the convo went, but you get the idea.
I don't think so.
Isfahan is a bit of a trigger word for Loyalist forces. Not just because of the Dropsite massacre, which saw the deaths of almost 3 loyalist legions, but also because of the Isfan atrocity, where the loyalist elements of the traitor legions were expunged. But whilst the original plan was basically just to virus bomb them all, instead, due to the heroics of a few, it resulted in the loyalists engaging in one of the most epic last stands in the entire setting. See, Sol Tarvids had discovered the traitor's intent and flew down to the planet to warn his brothers. As a result of that, around 60% of the loyalists were able to find cover in bunkers and the like. That equated to tens of thousands of warriors. When the traitors learnt of their survival, they were just going to bomb them again. But Angron had a bit of a stiffy for some battle and charged them directly, hence begun a multiple month-long war where an outnumbered, outsupplied, and primarchalist collection of Space Marines from the Emperor's Children, Sons of Horus, World Eaters, and Death Guard were able to repel and kill thousands of enemy traitors. Even as they were whittled down to their last few numbers, they still led counterattacks and countercharges to frustrate the enemy. They were killed to a man, but each of them died a legend, a hero, spitting in the face of Horus and his traitors and defying to the last. The last scene is literally Sol Tarvids and a few hundred or so battle brothers surrounded by thousands of traitors, refusing to surrender. It was the first conflict of the heresy, and it really laid down the vibe and theme of what was to come.
Not like it would have ended well if they surrendered anyways.
There is no last stand quite like the Siege of Hell's Reach. That in itself is an entire video that I have already made, but I really wanted to focus on the very final battle of it, the most last stand of last stand possible. For context, Hell's Reach was an important city on Armageddon that had come under siege by a massive Orc army. Reclusiarch Grimaldus of the Black Templars, as well as 100 or so of his brothers, and a large guardsman force, as well as some Titans, were tasked with defending the city. Sounds pretty generic until you actually read the lore and see the amount of absolutely off its nuts acts of heroism and gigaballs that took place to keep the city out of Orc hands. Long story short, the Black Templars are killed one by one, the Titans are brought down, and most of the guardsmen are killed. In return, hundreds of thousands of Orcs were also massacred, their Gargants and Mega Gargants brought low, and all that remained were a few thousand. Grimaldus, his handful of remaining warriors, a few sisters of battle, and the last few guardsmen set up a last stand in the city's central church. They hold the line as the enemy they had been fighting, bleeding, and being bled by charged in. Guns roar, body parts fly. One by one, the final Black Templars die. The sisters are killed, each one taking down a score of Orcs with them. Grimaldus is surrounded, butchering Orcs as the very chapel around them collapses, burying everyone in rubble and officially ending the Siege of Hell's Reach. Not many Orcs were alive and the Season of Fire had begun, a horrific weather event that basically meant you weren't allowed to siege anymore. Grimaldus survived the cave.
Wait, what? You're not allowed to siege anymore? That's interesting. So yeah, I didn't know there was so much more to Hell's Reach. I mean, I guess that animation can only do so much, but...
Guns roar, body parts fly. One by one, the final
what was that thing he was talking about?
The sisters are killed, each one taking down a score of Orcs with them. Grimaldus is surrounded, butchering Orcs as the very chapel around them collapses, burying everyone in rubble and officially ending the Siege of Hell's Reach. Not many Orcs were alive and the Season of Fire had begun, a horrific weather event that basically meant you weren't allowed to siege anymore.
So, what is the season? Was it Season of Fire?
And officially ending the Siege of Hell's Reach. Not many Orcs were alive and the Season of Fire had begun. A horrific
What's the Season of Fire?
That basically meant you weren't allowed to siege anymore.
And why are you not allowed to siege?
Being one of the few survivors, alongside a couple extremely lucky guardsmen. I'm sure, as you can see from the animation that was playing, this last stand was badass as fuck.
Yeah, it was.
It's not often Space Marines, especially the weaponized autism ones like the Black Templars,
that was a
have
fantastic
moments,
animation.
But this chokes me up every time. Even though the scale of this last stand wasn't massive, the build up to it was.
Right.
The months of campaigning, victories, defeats, kills, and wounds had all
like the
led
first
up to this brutal
10
last
episodes
stand,
or so.
and each and every Imperial Defender
For the final
Space
few
Marine or
episodes
not,
was
took it
amazing.
without flinching. I honestly believe it was Hell's Reach that brought a lot of people over to the Black Templars, making them these badass, lovable, and kind of relatable warriors. Either way, in my opinion, the best last stand in the entirety of Warhammer 40k.
I mean, that is a badass last stand.
If you enjoy the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where we've just uploaded the best ever nude cosplay photo shoot with a stunning model for only $1, so I'd definitely check that out if I were you. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more very epic content.
Okay, so there we go. There is the top 5 most epic last stands. That was pretty cool. That was very interesting. I'm sure there's like way more last stands. Like I was saying in the beginning there, I'm sure like Crimson Fist did one against the Orcs, which is why there was only like so many not that many Crimson Fists left, if I remember correctly. Granted, this was a long time ago when I was reading this stuff. So, I mean, things could have changed. But, yeah, I like this one here with the, what was it, Astral Knights. I like their paint scheme. That's actually pretty cool. Like a little blue outline and, I don't know, silver, metallic. So, yeah, metallic silver, I guess, or just silver, or just metal. I don't know. But either way, that actually looks, that's a pretty cool paint scheme. But yeah, that was pretty crazy, you know, what they did, and just took their ship and just drove it right into it and took down the shields and just used it as a big giant drop pod and just kind of went in from there. That was pretty cool. I do agree, at the end, you know, you can't really wipe out an entire chapter of Space Marines for those two reasons. One, you know, it would change the lore, and two, yeah, that would totally kind of suck. You know, if you were a, you know, an Astral Knights player, and, you know, look, here's all my models and stuff like that. They're all Astral Knights. Oh, Astral Knights are dead. There is no chapter anymore. It's like, well, what the hell, you know? Great, now I got like, I mean, you don't have to, but, you know, now I gotta, like, paint them again, you know? Now I gotta find, like, a new chapter. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you can keep the same thing. But, you know, if you're one of those people who, I play this chapter for, you know, their lore and stuff like that, well, yeah, now you'd have to change it because, you know, they'd be gone. But, yeah, that was a pretty intense sacrifice, just driving your, you know, your ship right into it, taking down the shields, and then just drop potting from inside and just taking everything out and sacrificing yourself so that way the shields and guns were down, and then everybody else can just unload onto it and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Ball, that was another really cool one. I'd like to see a video on like the whole thing about, you know, Ball and stuff like that, you know, because that would be very cool, to see a video on everything that happened on that one there. You know, obviously Nids, Blood Angels, stuff like that, but just to hear like the whole battle and stuff would be very cool. But yeah, that's a pretty impressive, you know, last stand by, what chapter was it?
Enemy with Centaur even charging Kabunda and confronting him.
Let's see, what chapter was it again?
Centaur resists, get baited into a point. Kabunda rages, a pretty solid way to bury the sins of their past, especially since they were the most Khorne and Berserk-like chapter gave. The enemy with Centaur.
Oh, I'm not going to go through it again, but yeah, that's pretty cool. Then he actually charged at Kabunda just to hold them off, so that way his fellow Space Marines could get out of there, you know. That's one hell of a heroic last stand. Custodes, same thing. That's another really cool story about them. I'm guessing that's what those things were that I didn't know what they were earlier. Just some sort of like demon thing. I mean, those things must be really strong if everyone says, like, what was it? What do you say? 11 of, I guess, these things versus 3 Custodes. But then I've heard lore videos where like a custodian can take out like 3, 4 Space Marines, I think. I don't know, that's what I've kind of heard. Like, you know, one custodian can kill like 3 or 4 Space Marines by himself, and 3 of these guys can't handle like 11 of whatever those things are. I don't know, but either way, pretty cool, awesome last stand by the Custodes. This one here, that was another really cool one. I don't know exactly who he is, what chapter he's from, but yeah, Istvan. Drop Site Massacre. Oof. I mean, obviously you don't want to surrender at that point. It's not going to end well for you either way. I mean, you surrender, you know you're you're screwed either way. You're gonna die, so might as well just take as many down with you. I mean, you know, nothing else you could really do. And then, of course, Hell's Reach, you know, explains itself right there. Just an amazing last stand by the Black Templars and the Garden Sisters battle and stuff like that. And, of course, the animation was so awesome. I mean, one of the best animations just ever made. Hands down. Alright, so yeah, so there we go. There is the top 5 most epic last stands. Let me know, do you agree with this list? Do you disagree with this list? Do you think there was another last stand that should have maybe swapped around, been in, you know, been considered another in the top 5? Let me know. So anyways, on that, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Remember, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media. Links in the description box below. Come over and join me over on Discord. You know, I'm trying to get more active over there. And, you know, it's better to interact with you guys on Discord than it is, you know, just replying to, like, comments and stuff like that, you know. But, yeah, come over there. Join me over there on there. You can share more lore and stuff like that. Request videos for me to watch, because I just kind of, you know, look around and see, all right, what looks interesting, and I just kind of go from there. But if there's something specific you want me to check out, yeah, you can leave a link for me, and I'll check it out, and I'll do a video. But anyways, on that, yeah, just stick around. More videos are on the way, and I will see you guys next time.